I just want to say how excited I was to hear that you get a woman of her caliber to lead your community. And in the email I was sent asking for this video, I really loved how you describe yourselves as a church, as a community that doesn't belong together, that gathers anyway around Christ for those who don't belong. If there's ever a better way to describe Beth, I don't know what that would be. Um, I'm in Holland, Michigan, and I'm not sure how much you know about this town, but the sun is strangely deceptive. But you should know enough to know that I did not grow up in Holland, Michigan. I grew up in India and came to the US as a college student and then seminary student, and now as an ordained minister of Word and Sacrament, much like Beth. All that to say, since I've been in the US, I've never really quite fit in, particularly in this part of the country. And this is where my friendship with Beth began, because in Beth, I saw somebody who also didn't quite fit in. And in me, she found a kindred soul. And so together, our friendship grew over the boisterous laughs that we enjoyed, kind of making fun of the predicament we find ourselves in as oddities in a pretty different place than what our upbringing would have suggested. But Beth just embraced me as one of her own people when I first met her. She came to our church as a visitor, and then member, and then leader, and then pastor that we were able to send out. And it is so wonderful to be able to advocate on her behalf, because she advocates on behalf of so many, myself included. So in Beth, you will have somebody who fits what your community feels gathered and called to do. In Beth, you will find somebody who will always have room at the table, no matter who you are. You'll be welcomed in. She might make fun of you a lot because that's who Beth is, and it's not out of any malice, but just out of the joy and space in her heart. She's family, and she will make you feel like you're part of hers as well.
California. I first got to know Beth as a student at Western Theological Seminary. She was one of my students in a few of my classes, actually. And one of the things that I learned very early on is that she has a phenomenal sense of humor. It's a bit dry at times, and there's certainly a lot of self-deprecation to her humor, but she always found ways to make me laugh, make her students laugh, or make other students laugh, and just make our friends laugh. And being at Western Theological Seminary wasn't always easy, but having students like Beth made the experience a very rewarding one for me. She was passionate about her faith. She was passionate about justice issues, and passionate about caring for the least of these, whom Christ has put us into community with. So I've always had the greatest amount of respect for her, appreciation for her, and I look forward to seeing what she does in the days and years to come.
Beth is the pastor who invited the whole congregation to celebrate and come to her wedding when she got married to Rich, and to celebrate afterward. And she just has, that's who she is, just a wonderful spirit that way.
Is a wonderful pastor. She's a wonderful human being who really works hard to give voice to the voiceless, and who really goes out of her way to make sure that all people, regardless of economic background, regardless of color of skin or sexual orientation, she is there to love them. I feel so privileged to know her. I'm so excited for her to be taking on this new position. We are going to miss her so much, but I am so proud of her and just so excited to see all the work that she is going to be doing out in California.
The other thing that I noticed about Beth, we worked on a project called, it was a journey group, a Lilly-funded journey group called Violence in the City. And I led this group of community activists, pastors, students, even government officials on a 2.5-year journey visiting cities all over the United States, and looking at issues of violence. And interestingly enough, the group that we were with was very diverse. We didn't all have the same perspective on everything. They were across the spectrum, politically, theologically. And one of the things that always impressed me about Beth is her willing to engage in conversations with people who have different opinions, people who come from different backgrounds. And she didn't do it just, she didn't do it in an automatic way. She genuinely wanted to be in conversation with people, and had tremendous amounts of patience, and was able to find ways of staying in conversation and staying in community with people, even though she may not have always agreed with them. I think that takes a special gift that Beth has to do that, and I think it'll serve her well in ministry.
Pastor Beth was one of the most welcoming, affirming, and stabilizing voices in my life during a time where I desperately needed that. She walked with me and helped me process so many things about life, faith, and church community. Pastor Beth is passionate about making spaces for those traditionally left out of church, like trans people like me. Beth and I co-led a Bible study at my college for LGBTQ students, and she is passionate about reaching out in the community to those who may not be able to go or feel safe at a traditional church building and service. I can't think of a better person to pastor a church which aims to be a place for those who don't belong.
Spirit that way. When Beth first started at Hope Church, I was part of a group of people who had been taking middle schoolers on the Appalachian Trail, which is kind of a crazy endeavor, but also wonderful. And Beth was pretty clear right from the start. She knew about the trip, and she was pretty clear that she was not really an outdoor person. She hadn't done much hiking, but she was willing to try. And there's something in particular, there's a certain kind of person that it takes to be willing to try that as a full-grown adult when they've never done it before. And there's also certain things that you learn about a person when you are out backpacking in the wild, where there are bears, and where you are responsible for 11, 12, and 13-year-olds who are having probably the hardest experience that they've had in life so far. And you're carrying your own heavy pack of about 28 to 30 pounds. It's part of it is just really an ordeal, and at the same time, it's an incredibly wonderful spiritual experience for everybody involved. And getting to know Beth in that setting, I think I could see the core of who she is, and I would say at her core, the way that I see her reflecting God's presence in the world is her curiosity, her willingness to learn and try, her compassion for other people, and just her delightful presence and the way that she shows up with care and with listening. I know lots of pastors, and we have many of them in this community, and I encounter lots of them in my work. And my experience of Beth is that she's far more on the listening end. And I feel understood when I'm talking with her. I feel cared for, and I think that's a pretty unique set of skills for someone who's in a leadership role.